Foxconn, the contract manufacturer that builds whatever you want them to, from iPhones to, I believe, even Nintendos, Sony's as well. Foxconn is looking to allure the Japanese automakers and become one of the greatest car manufacturers in the world. Over in Japan, Foxconn just had a huge press briefing, and you could say business pitch, sales pitch to the suppliers in Japan and the manufacturers, from Honda to Nissan to Mitsubishi, maybe even more. Guys, are we about to see Taiwan and Japan team up for a superpower for car manufacturing? Guys, if you're excited to talk about today's news, make sure to smash the like button. And if you're new to the channel, my name's Kirk. I talk about car news every single day. Stay to the back end of this because I'll update you guys on some tariff situations. Most of you guys have been appreciating that news lately. It's getting pretty wild out there, but instead of focusing on tariff hurricane of a situation, we're going to mainly focus on Foxconn and the potential products that could be entering in the United States market, but also in the global market. So make sure you subscribe for future videos. I talk about car news every single day. To me, this is the biggest news that we have. We have huge Nissan and Foxconn news, but we're going to start with Foxconn because this is the potential game changer throughout the industry right now, aside from tariffs, right? That's a completely different thing that we'll finish with. So let's get into this. Automotive News has a great write-up on this Foxconn sales pitch. Hans Greimel, the journalist that lives in Japan and reports to Automotive News, has the scoop for us today. So there are two electric vehicle models for the United States that are going to come into this year, at least, starting this year. And one of them is the Model C. Now, the Model C is already on sale in Taiwan. It's called the Lux Gen N7. Now, in terms of performance, it sounds like it does 0 to 60 in about the same time, or maybe even faster compared to the Audi SQ7 e-tron that I reviewed this past week. It's a 5 to 7 seater. Now, in Taiwan, yes, they can probably squeeze in a third row of seats. In the United States, they probably just keep it a 2-row because the other vehicle they're bringing to the United States would have a 3-row, and we'll go over the Model D here in a little bit. It only charges at 135 kilowatts of DC fast charging, but the battery right now is a lithium iron phosphate, and there's a 60 kilowatt hour battery version, but there's also a higher battery version as well, around 85 kilowatts. The single motor is rear wheel drive and has 231 horsepower, but you can have a dual motor, guys, to get the 460 horsepower on here and 500 pound-feet of torque. Now, they claim 430 miles, but guys, that's not on the EPA cycle. The EPA cycle would probably knock this down to something around 300 miles of range. Now, that 430 miles is the dual motor with the bigger battery pack. Now, the best energy efficiency on the rear-wheel drive model is going to be about 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour, which is incredibly efficient. But again, that's just going to be for city driving. That's what these vehicles are rated at, for city driving almost entirely. This efficiency would probably go down to around 3 miles per kilowatt hour if you're doing like 75 miles an hour would be my guess. Now, looking at the design of it, it does not look bad. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, looking at the front, it kind of has some like Range Rover Lights vibe, if you guys can see that. Let me know what you think of this two-tone panda paint scheme. Okay, so here's the Lux Gen, but the Model C, while it's based on it, it's going to be different. You can see the different headlights, the different bumper design. So we'll see what actually happens with different markets and the different styling we have on here. They plan on bringing this into the United States market for testing later this year, so stay tuned for that. But it seems like Foxconn has no interest in selling direct to consumer here. They just want to be the manufacturer of these cars and be contracted by Nissan, by Mitsubishi, who, guys, by the way, Mitsubishi's already working with Foxconn here to make EVs. There's nothing official, but Jun Seki, this guy used to be a Nissan exec. He really wants to work with these Japanese automakers. Nissan is the apple of his eye. He wants Nissan so bad to buy these manufactured cars with a Nissan badge, essentially. Just be a rebadging. Now, Nissan has production capacity in their Canton, Mississippi, where they could build these, but it seems like Foxconn would rather have their own plant. They do have their own plant, I think in Wisconsin or Ohio, somewhere in that area here in the United States. Initially, they would be bringing these vehicles in from Taiwan. They want to build mainly in Taiwan initially, and then as demand goes up in the United States, they can increase that volume and start producing them here. But again, tariffs could really, really muddy the waters here. Now, they're also planning to bring in this Model D, which is essentially a minivan. They call it an MPV. I think it looks pretty cool. It actually reminds me a little bit of the Lucid Gravity that's going to be coming out, I think, sometime this year. And that's okay. That's a good thing. Lucid is a fantastic electric vehicle maker. They did contract Pininfarina to design this car, which is a famous Italian car designer that's worked with countless brands throughout the decades. All right, so I'm excited for this vehicle. You guys know I love minivans. Assuming this has a sliding door, it looks like it does. It looks like there's a track here for the door to slide off. Big fan of minivans. Would love to see it enter the United States market. And Nissan could badge this as the Quest. Honda could badge this as the E-Odyssey, I don't know, or Space Odyssey. That'd be kind of fun. And then Mitsubishi could rebadge this as a Delica EV or something, right? They could all put their own little badges on this guy. And look at the interior. This is really designed for the Asian markets with the amount of luxury and VIP catered interior that you have here. I would hope for the United States market. If you look, there's a third row, but this is only a 6-seater. So for the United States market, they would have to adjust this to account for more seats. I would think so. So while the Model C is going to be here late 2025, the Model D is pushed all the way to 2027. Now, if we look at the Model B, this is actually coming to Japan and it's coming to Australia, I believe, in the near future. I think this is a pretty cool looking EV crossover. It'd be probably somewhere around the size of like a Corolla Cross, Honda HR-V, for example. I'm actually driving the Nissan Kicks this week. It's probably around that size, but since it's an EV, it's going to have a long wheelbase with more interior space. Model A is also going to Southeast Asia. This tiny thing, look at, does this have sliding doors? Oh my gosh, I want it. Now, Nissan could rebadge this as the Cube. That would be super cute. I want this vehicle really bad. It would never come to America, unfortunately. But lucky Japan and lucky Southeast Asia and Oceania to get that vehicle. It looks delicious. Oh, here's a fun fact. That Model D is looking to have a sport air suspension. Jun Seki touted his Foxconn as a low-cost, high-quality manufacturer steeped in cutting-edge technologies with an obsession with customer confidentiality. He cited Foxconn's expertise as the world's biggest assembler of iPhones and saying EVs are essentially smartphones on wheels, which I couldn't agree more on. He praised Japanese automakers as ideal partners because of their reputation for quality and for the reputation for not having competitive EVs yet, I'll say that. Or should I say, they are competitive in some ways, but they're not like leading. They're not bleeding edge in any ways. And Foxconn could put them on the bleeding edge. Japanese car makers are careful planners, and we understand that, but we are also very fast. Jun Seki said, we can do things faster while understanding Japanese prudence. Guys, I think this would be a great matchup. And I could keep talking about this matchup, but we're going to actually move on over to this Nissan information dump here. All right, this new EV platform to support 5 models. One of them being an EV pickup truck called the Surf Out. Who knows what it would be called? Here's the thing. This vehicle has not even been confirmed, even though they made a concept on it, right? Concepts don't equal, guaranteed production, of course. It's rare that actually happens. All right, but they're still looking at it. They don't know exactly what to do with their EVs. They're like, do we make an EV sedan? Do we not? Well, EV sedan, it probably costs around $45,000. There's not a market for that. Nissan admits that they are not in the market for premier and premium sedans. And they keep pushing back the demise of the Altima. Now, that especially becomes tricky. It's made in Canton, Mississippi, but due to the tariffs, they might try to keep pushing this vehicle back and back and back so that they have essentially a non-tariff Altima being built there. Ideally, the Sentra would be built there, but they will continue to build that down in Mexico. So they wanted to kill the Altima in 2025. It's been extended to at least 2027. They're saying the ICE sedan market is slowing down significantly. Do we hybridize that segment? Do we pick a more profitable high volume segment such as a Murano? Guys, yes. Like, they can kill the Altima. The Altima's has destroyed the brand's credibility in a lot of ways. Put a hybrid in the Murano and the Pathfinder. I think most consumers would be very interested in that. Now, you would have some people interested in an Altima hybrid, but unless it's significantly cheaper than an Accord hybrid or a Sonata hybrid, maybe not a Sonata hybrid, but definitely the Camry being the number one hybrid seller sedan right now, if it's not cheaper or better, it doesn't have a chance against that vehicle. And they're saying that the high-end ends of the Sentra could serve 75% of the Altima market. Well, here's the thing. They should absolutely hybridize the Sentra, get rid of the Altima. Sentra is still a respected name in America, while the Altima, like big Altima Energy, is looked at as like hooligans, crazy, not so impressive people driving those vehicles insanely fast, as you guys all know what I'm talking about, while the bumpers are hanging off. All right, Sentra drivers, even though those cars are cheaper, they don't seem to be in the same category for whatever reason as the Altima. All right, I saw a Maxima driver yesterday that fit the big Altima Energy to a T. But Sentra drivers, I hardly ever find those drivers fitting the Altima stereotype. If you look at Rogue drivers, at least in my area, they're pretty much all elderly that are driving extremely slow and unpredictably. So just kill off the Altima, bring in the new Sentra. We're ready for the new Sentra. And if they can bring in a hybrid variant of it, more power to them to fight against the new Civic hybrid, the Corolla hybrid, the Elantra hybrid, the Prius, etc. We don't need the Altima anymore. One of the more exciting things here, I thought, was a hybridized Frontier to be a parallel hybrid technology. So it would be a different technology than what they have e-Power. e-Power is a serial hybrid technology where the engine is never connected to the wheels unless they change that with e-Power 3.0 is essentially coming to the market 2026. Redesigned Rogue. All right, and we'll get a plug-in hybrid of the Rogue this year. But the Frontier is a pickup truck. So it would likely be a hybrid similar to what we have in the Tacoma. All right, so you have an engine. Hopefully Nissan could do it with a V6. A V6 hybrid would be pretty tempting. But they could put the 2-liter VC turbo in it, and then I would not be interested whatsoever. Nissan does have a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter, right, that they put in, I think, the Altima still. Maybe they could use that engine as a hybrid, okay, and have close to 40 miles per gallon, at least in town on the Frontier. That would be something unique, something Toyota did not take advantage of. We'll see what happens, but I'm all for a hybridized Frontier, but it's great that they still have the V6. It seems like they're talking more about the fully electric pickup truck instead, but it wouldn't be here till maybe 2030. So who knows what's going to happen if that vehicle ever happens. You know, what is confirmed is that there's going to be a Nissan EV crossover as well as an Infiniti EV crossover sometime around 2028, mid 2028, guys. So far away. What they need though is hybrids. We know that. And it does look like they are going to be giving us a hybridized Pathfinder, which I know you guys would all be on board for, all right, to give more competition to the Highlander hybrid. And if you think about it, Honda doesn't have a hybrid to compete against it, but there's the Sorento hybrid out there. There's the Santa Fe hybrid. The Pathfinder should absolutely have a hybrid to be more competitive, to have more options. The V6 in it is great. Hopefully, God, please don't. Nissan, don't kill off the VQ V6 in the Pathfinder. That's one of the best selling points of it right now, and you can get Pathfinders for really strong deals. Anyways, I just felt like sharing this news to you guys. Would you want Foxconn to build EVs for the Japanese manufacturers? definitely it's going to happen for Mitsubishi. Hopefully it happens for Nissan, but as we know, Nissan seems to be hard to work with. Honda, hard to work with, because look at the fallout of their failed joint company merger situation. All right, Foxconn tried to come in and pick up the scraps, say, hey, you guys lean on us. We'll help pull you through. We'll look at this manufacturing we have. Look at this technology that you guys don't have on your cars. We can make these cars for you. Just rebadge them. But they're too prideful. They don't want to change. They have too much investment in other areas. And Foxconn, while they could be one of the greatest manufacturers in the world for automobiles, they're having difficulty finding partners. Mitsubishi, gosh, wouldn't it be something if Mitsubishi comes in working with Foxconn and carves out a niche here in the United States that Mitsubishi hasn't enjoyed since the 90s? It's possible. No one else is seemingly willing to work with Foxconn at this point. So let's get Mitsubishi to come in and show us what Foxconn is capable of. And lastly, before I let you go, tariffs will lead to an estimated 2 million fewer auto sales in the United States alone this year. Doesn't come as a surprise. I don't think this is entirely tariff related. It's definitely accelerated it, and as the tariffs will probably, well, you can see Volkswagen ID buzz in the background, but it's going to have an effect. I think the market was cooling off before the tariffs. There's, you could say, hey, Kirk, there's, record high sales in the month of March. Yes, that was pre-tariff. I get that, but people were panic buying, all right, and the manufacturers were panic selling. Now going forward, there's going to be a drop in demand as people don't know what's going to happen in the market. There's already a drop in affordability for huge demographics and populations here in the United States. So new cars, it might be worse than 2 million fewer units. It might be better. It depends. Guys, if deals are made to avoid tariffs with certain countries, then the tariffs, this could all get fixed in the coming months, or it could get worse. We just don't know. Mazda likely to spread tariff pain. So I'm not going to bore you with this article too much, but essentially what their CEO here in North America is saying, Jeffrey Guyton, is saying, hey, our company is not big enough to just eat the tariffs and keep the prices the same. They're like, we can do that for the CX-30 and the Mazda 3 with them having a lower price, because we'll just shift the cost to the bigger, more expensive models like the CX-90. Well, guess what? Mazdas are sitting around on lots for a long time, especially the CX-5 right now. That's coming in from Japan. That's going to be tariffed. All these vehicles in theory are going to be tariffed except for the CX-50, which is built in Alabama. Now, he does say that we might be able to increase production in Alabama, but that can't just happen overnight. And he's like, we would love to build another plant in the United States, but that takes a long time, not only to build the plant, but to work through all the red tape from environmental things they have to work through to build a plant, to getting the staff, not only getting the staff, but getting them skilled and efficient to run on an assembly line. Guys, this sort of endeavor can take a decade, sometimes less. Now, Trump has been saying lately, he's like, hey, you don't need to worry about it. Build here and we will expedite your plant. You don't have to worry about all the environmental concerns or all of the X, Y, and Z concerns. We will put you on the fast track for getting your plants okayed to improve, the manufacturing stateside to help these companies avoid tariffs. Guys, that's kind of how these things operate. If you look in China, Lexus just said, okay, well, we're going to build a plant in Shanghai. That happened in 2025. They're like, we're going to be building cars by 2027. So in 2.5 years, that's how fast these manufacturers can build a plant, especially if it's EV, because then it's very, very streamlined. You don't have as much machines, etc. You have less parts. You have less assembly as well. So you can build an EV plant very, very fast. We know Tesla's able to do it. All right. And so here's Mazda. Are they going to build a plant? Unlikely. They absolutely should. Them and Toyota should build another joint venture plant in, I don't know, somewhere in the US South if they want lower wages, right? That's what all of the manufacturers seem to do anyways. But what does this mean for Mazda in the near term? Well, it looks like their cars are going to go up in price, at least on the mid to higher price models, where the CX-30, there's not a lot of room there to make that happen. They say the bigger manufacturer, guidance says the bigger manufacturers, Toyota, probably Honda, especially since Honda has so much United States production. He says Hyundai, Kia, these bigger companies, they're going to have this advantage of being able to eat the tariffs for a much longer time period than Mazda. We'll see what happens, guys. We're on a new frontier. We're in the wild west of the car industry here in 2025, and it's awfully fascinating. It's awfully entertaining. Things could go south fast, but they could also turn around. We just don't know what's going to happen. That's what's great. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned for more car news. Tomorrow I'm traveling to California to do a Honda event, so stay tuned for that. But I probably won't have a news event up tomorrow unless something major comes and I have time between flights or something to film in the airport. But it's looking unlikely. Maybe I'll have something for the next day. I don't know. But stay tuned. I'll do my best to update you guys. Have a great day. Just take care of yourself and the ones around you. Everything will end up okay. Have a great day and peace.